Welcome to Mystics Spilling the Tea.
I'm Ashwani, Southern Fried Psychics.
I'm Lezli Hall, the Purple Rose Psychic.
And I'm Nickelle with Rising Digital.
And we are
The Mystics Spilling the Tea. Today's episode, we're talking about oracle cards and tarot cards. And we have a guest with us today, Randie Lee from Oklahoma City. Woo! Dawn and Clarity.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about your stuff, what you do with your cards. What cards do you use?
Oh my
Oracle,
God.
Tarot, what?
All of the things. I use all the things. I have tons and tons of tarot decks, tons of oracle decks. I tend to use the tarot more than the oracle. How come? But yeah, because for me, it's a little more brutally honest. Okay. It's going to tell you straight up what's needed. It's not going to pull back any punches. Sometimes the oracle for me is a little more, at least the decks I have are a little more soft and everything's happy good, and it might not be everything's happy good that day for that person. So I just kind of let the flow guide me as to where they're going to be tarot oracle. And sometimes I mix them up. So I'll pull like full tarot spread and then end it with something more gentle. If it was a rough one, pull an angel card. Yeah. So I know that one's going to be a little more gentle. It's going to send them away on a nice note instead of a, you need to fix this.
Right. How about you, Miss Ashwani?
I use both. So when I first started, so most people, I get this question all the time. What's the difference between tarot and oracle? And then just a really quick, basic cheat sheet guide, if you will, is tarot is a little more structured. Usually you have a layout you follow. There's the suits. You got 22 major arcanas, 56 minors. But with oracle, everything is very intuitive.
See,
No structure.
That's interesting because I use my tarot cards and it's all intuitive. It doesn't matter what the card says to me, it's what the message is. And so that's the reason why. But sometimes I do use oracle cards. It just depends on the person I'm reading for, because sometimes what I like to do is I like to use my tarot cards to do the reading and do it intuitive. And then I like for them to pull the oracle cards. And that way, whenever the oracle card says the same thing I just said, and they're the ones that put their hands on it, then it validates what I just told them. So it kind of gives, that's the way I do it. So that's just me. But every reader has their own way of doing things. And
100%.
every reader has, a lot of different things. Nickelle, you've been like going to readers and everything. Which one do you like best as a client?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Yeah, because they are all different. So it's like, I'm trying to think. I really enjoyed the one that I had with Mari and at the Wellness Expo in Grapevine. Yeah, because that was just different. Like
She does art.
She does art. She's drawing what she's seeing. So she's also a medium. So she's like seeing your spirit guides, seeing angels or your past loved ones. And so that was really interesting to kind of like see how that all came to be. But one thing I do like with yours is that I like that you tell them to put their cards to their heart.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that because I've never seen anyone do that.
So just so you know, whenever I'm doing a reading, the first thing I do is I shuffle. I shuffle until my guides say stop. And it's amazing because I actually feel my guides guiding the cards, because I can shuffle and it be a great shuffle, but all of a sudden they'll be like one more, and then they actually have the shuffle go horribly wrong, but it's their way of putting the cards where they really want them. But after that, then I have my client hold the cards to their heart, and I do a prayer. I say, Lord, in your love and light, please provide my guides and angels the information so-and-so needs so that they can stay on the path you have designed for this. All of I do is in your name. Amen. So that's how I start off. And it's funny because some people all of a sudden will look at me super shocked. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I know it's a little different. It's cool. It's just how I work. I think everyone has their own rituals.
100%.
And everyone has their own way of doing things. And no one's wrong and no one's right. No. That's the whole thing about this.
It's all intuitive.
It's all in how you relate to your guides, how you feel and everything. And so that's one of the things I do. Do you do any rituals, Randie?
I do, but I really call in the elements when I start, but I don't do it out loud. It's like in my head, I'm calling in each element and then my guides. And then I always call in the guides of the person that's there because I want their guides to kind of lead the show, not mine. Mine just kind of hanging out watching. So that's kind of my ritual, is to do that.
How do you call them in? Like, I know it's in your head, but what are you saying to
You're
me?
trying to get in my head.
What? How do you do that, Randy?
I want to know how to call in things.
Okay, well, when I call them in, I'm calling in air. I say I want air to come and be the communication flow,
Okay.
divine communication, come flow through the air, fire with my inspiration, the creativity, let it flow. Call in the water for the same thing, flow through me with it. I'm just calling in each element to connect with it and flow with me, and the spirit flow through.
And what about with their spirit guides when you're asking for their spirit guides to come through?
I just ask them straight up to come in. So
right.
whichever guide wants to guide this, and generally I will see 2 or 3 with them, but only one will step forward and say, "Okay, I'm doing this.
Okay.
I'm doing this," and I do
like
the same
that.
thing
Yeah.
that Leslie does with the shuffling. But I'm glad you said that about it going horribly wrong, because my shuffles almost always go horribly wrong.
It's amazing. I
And I
can
have-
shuffle cards, and all of a sudden it's like, it's like, what was
Yeah.
that?
I
It's like
shuffle-
20 cards went at one time, and I didn't. It's the
Yes.
weirdest thing, but I feel like it's truly them
Yeah.
going, oh, no, those cards aren't in the right order, because they'll be like, shuffle one more time. And then,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that was a really bad shuffle. But I
Yeah.
feel like it's them really, because
I've never equated it to that, and now that makes me feel better, because I do always shuffle.
because
until
all of a
I
sudden
hear
you're like,
stop.
what happened?
Yeah.
I know how to shuffle. It's like tying your shoe. It's like all of a sudden you're like, what happened?
See, I'm the
man?
opposite. I always start my reading by saying, "I'm sorry, I don't know how to shuffle. Here we go," and then I'll because I know it happens every single time. I'll start shuffling, and then stuff falls out.
I think it's the guides rearranging the cards the way they want them to be, because they really have a message. And so, and the cards, because I can do it with or without cards. That's
Right.
been one of the things. And the cards really are for the client to have a visual of the
Right.
story. And so that's what I tell them is like, if you read tarot for yourself, these cards aren't going to mean what you think they mean, because this is how my guides work. They tell me what everything means, and it may not mean, what you think it means. And so that's always interesting to me, that they shuffle them differently, and also the way that they read the cards is different.
Yeah.
How about you, Miss Ashwani?
Yeah, no 2 readings are ever the same. So because I'm dyslexic and ADD, I was having such a hard time following like a Celtic cross. I'm like, wait, this card goes this way and then this way, and then you want me to go over here, and then anyway, it just tripped me up. And so my guides corrected everything and said, we're just going to show you the layout before every person, because no 2 people are the same. I'm like, cool, I can follow that. But I agree sometimes when I'm shuffling. But mine seems to be when I put the deck down, or when we divide them, I let the client put them into stacks if I really trust their energy. And then cards like to slide toward them all the time. So, or sometimes I'll be told, okay, they put them in 3 piles, draw 1 from each pile, especially if it's a 10-minute or a 15-minute or something. Or they'll say like, well, they really have 2 questions. So then I have 2 rows. And so each row, and then they kind of intersect, and then everything ties in usually neatly. Or I'll add oracle cards on top of that to boost something in, like the Priestess Oracle. I use it a lot, which is Egyptian.
Yeah, I like that. I use different ones. I love my fairy godmother oracle cards. Those are like fabulous. I love those. They have poems. I have to read the poem because I can't remember 68 poems. I'm not going to lie. But they're really always really inspiring. There's always some good information in there. I think I read with your daughter and did I do the fairy godmother with her? I did.
Yeah, I love that my daughter's first official reading was with Lezli.
That's
and
so
it was
awesome.
adorable. Yeah, and she, of course, it was like very for a 4-year-old, but she broke it down. She was like, I can tell you have some gifts, and you're going to use them later. And I have a picture, and Zennia's just looking at her very, she's a Capricorn, so she's very serious. I'm like, okay.
I want to see
Hi,
that
lady.
picture.
Yeah.
That sounds
It was
cool.
really cute.
It's
It was
adorable.
really cute. And you're breaking it down. And that's the other thing. When someone's that young, you're not, it's not like they have a heartbreak or they have
Yeah,
financial
true.
worries or something.
But
So
They're newly in their life.
yeah, but they do in past lives necessarily. But you don't want to freak them out with a
Right.
past
Yeah,
life
yeah,
at
of
4.
course.
I'm
Right.
thinking like, by the way, did you know you were a witch when you were
underage.
and you died this way? No, you don't do
No.
that to a 4-year-old. So it's really more of like, and I think a lot of her reading was on how you work with students and people, and how, on the playground, things might not always go the way you want them to go. But that's okay, because there's reasons for it and everything. And so that's kind of where you go with that. But, yeah, I did use the fairy godmother cards on her, and it was really interesting because she really was like really into it and watching it. And,
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
I've read for several children.
Yeah.
It's funny because when their parents bring them to you, and I read for one at MOJ one day, and I mean, she was like 11 or 12. And so it was, and she was, here was the deal. She had a spirit that was following her. And so she was like, you know, it's the ice maker. There's noises in the house. We don't ever know what they are. So I just thought I'd let them know it's the ice maker. So, but you don't know where they're going to go and everything. But she was like, I have a spirit that's following me. And so I had to like tell her, okay, let's talk about it. How does it make you feel? Do you feel frightened? No. And so this is how you kind of start, because here's the thing. Children are highly susceptible to the metaphysicals and seeing spirits and knowing things and intuition. And because that's where I started, that's where you started, probably where you started too, and you too. And so that's what I'm saying is like, as all this is you don't want to stifle that, but you also don't want to scare them about it.
Right.
So it's all like a happy balance of what do you give them, what do you not, and everything. But it was interesting for her to talk to me about the spirit, and it was a spirit guide that was with her. And so she wasn't sure what the purpose of it was and everything. So I had to explain, like, how does it make you feel?
Yeah.
Well, are you afraid of it? No. Well, okay. Then chances are, you know, and so we start talking through everything. But her dad was there and everything. She is going to be really, truly gifted when she gets older. And that's what I was like, girlfriend, you're going to be very gifted, and you're going to be doing a lot of different things. And so it was fun. You know, I like to see that because I want to encourage that.
Oh, heck yeah.
You want
That's
to
what I do in
encourage
my
it because,
readings.
like, a lot of people discourage it. And so, like, I want to encourage it, and I want to, and I did tell her, I said, now I'm going to tell you, you know, your friends might not really understand this or appreciate it. And they might call you weird. So really it's your choice if you share this gift with them or if you just keep it to yourself. And she was like, oh, okay. I'm like, it's all up to you how you use it.
So I have some questions about cards. So one, not everyone does the upside down, the reverse.
I don't do that
I
because
don't
my
unless they
guides tell me what they are.
Yeah, see?
Okay.
We all don't do reverse here.
Yeah,
Different,
that's
but
all
for
of us.
different reasons, though, right?
Mine is because my guides tell me what the cards are going
Right.
to mean, and so it doesn't matter if it's upside down, sideways.
Sideways.
Yeah,
Okay.
Same here. I'm going to know what it meant anyway. So
And most of the time, my deck's upside down anyway,
Okay.
because I'm upside down sometimes. So
Okay.
I'm the
So
hangman card.
but some people do.
Some people do.
But,
Yeah.
and that's following more of the traditional
Traditional.
tarot book
Right.
That's the
rules,
structure.
and
Yeah.
that's the structured part.
Okay.
Those that read it that way,
Yeah.
they just do it the structured way, and that's something I don't do. Just
don't
like my spread has grown and grown. I do this big circle thing, then now I'm putting 5 cards underneath it, and it's like it just grows. And I never know how I'm going to read it till they tell me.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's around clockwise, sometimes it's counterclockwise, sometimes it's
Same.
diagonals, and sometimes it's like, hey, deal with the bad stuff first, and it's all of the
Oh,
swords.
yeah, I remember you saying that.
And so then I'm like, okay, we're going to deal with the bad stuff right off the bat. Let's just get this Band-Aid off, and then we're going to talk about what is going to happen that's going to be good.
Okay.
Because that's how my guides direct me to read it. And so it's always different.
Yeah.
With every person, it's different.
Totally.
Which is good to hear because you don't want it to just be like, I do this every single time.
No, because then it
but
becomes
the
more of a job.
Last 2 questions. One is bottom of the deck.
Oh,
Do you refer to the card at the bottom of the deck? I've heard
I
some.
do
Sometimes.
occasionally.
Okay.
It's like once in a blue moon, I'll hear the guide say, "Look at the bottom."
Look at the
That's
bottom.
their hidden message. So
Same thing.
Flip it over. And
See, I don't have them do that. Usually they say, draw one more card.
Okay.
Draw one more card. And
Yeah.
so that's what I do. Or they'll say, you know, pull an oracle card, because I do have some extra oracle cards I can pull if I want to.
Right.
But that's the reason why I have my 8. I have 6, 7, 8, however many I would decide to pull out that day on my table, and I let the client pick the deck.
I love
that's
that.
cool.
And it's funny because, like, when I went to Oklahoma last weekend, there was a deck I hardly ever use. I haven't used it in probably months, maybe a year. At any rate, I was getting ready to go to Oklahoma, and I heard take that deck. So I took it, and I put it out. That deck was the most popular deck, and it's an odd deck because it's an odd deck, like an odd duck.
Odd duck on deck.
Odd duck on deck because it's got a yes and a no card. And so it's funny because if they pick that, I know they definitely have a question because you'll say, do you have a question or just a general reading? And they always say a general reading. And then my guys are going, BS, they have a question. BS, they have a question. They have a question. We know they have a question. We already know they have a question. We already know the answer, but just make them tell you the question. And so that deck, though, I'll look at them and I'll go, well, now I know for sure you have a question because this deck says so. It's interesting. It's also interesting whenever, like, they sit down and all of a sudden you get things like, I go, you have a question? And they'll be like, no, just a general reading. And I'm like, okay. And then I'll start shuffling and they're like, health, and I'm like, you have a question about your health? Well, yes, I'm having a procedure next week.
Oh, oh my gosh.
I want to know how it's going to go. And I'm like, well, that was a question. That's called a question.
I wonder if those people are the ones that like have more of a segue than, like maybe they're just like, they don't know how to get it right out. And they're like general reading. And then they're like, okay.
I think it's
could
some of
be.
it. Yeah, it's because so many of us are different as well. So like for me, I usually tell them, don't tell me what your question is because that way I have no bias, no input. I have to have my abilities work for me, but keep it in your mind's eye.
Okay.
See, I just let them pour it out because here's the thing. Part of the reading, like she was like, well, yes, I do. I mean, because is it long-term health issues or is it short-term health issues? What is your concern at this moment? But that's part of it because then whenever I'm reading, I want to make sure I get that question answered, but they had already told me she had a question. So it was like,
That worked out.
But again, I don't know how it works. Do you get a lot of questions or do you get mostly generals?
I get a lot of generals, but when we start working through it, they have the questions. So
Okay,
when
yeah.
I have somebody that doesn't really know, I generally will flip one card over and say, okay, this is what this reading is going to be about. We'll flip it over, we'll talk about it a little bit, and something will pop into their head, and they're like, oh, I know what that is. Okay, well, now I do have a question. So you got to tease it out of them because sometimes they were kind of led to go there, but they don't really know what they need.
Yeah, I had a lot of people yesterday who it was their first reading.
get those a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're like, I don't really know what to do. This is my first time to have
I had
a
a 14-year-old.
Yeah, and so it's like,
for the mother.
yeah,
put
and
it
so
on.
it's always interesting because you're like, oh, okay, well, you were obviously drawn here.
Yeah.
Let's see what's going on. And then you start going through some stuff, and they got a lot of stuff going on, and that's the reason why they were drawn there because they want it's almost as if their guides and angels want them to know they're not alone in their battles and in what they have to do today. All they have to do is get up, take a step forward. That's all you have to do some days. And that right there is a good thing. And that's, what we all hope for is one step, one day at a time.
One of my favorite quotes that just reminded me of that I actually learned in recovery was like, all you have to do is the next right thing in front of you. That's
Totally.
it. And you're like, okay, what's the next right thing? Go pick up my kid or go, make dinner, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's one step.
One step.
One step at a time.
Sometimes it's overwhelming.
And, some days I have only one step. And that's it. I can do
Same.
one step, and that's it. And I'm okay with that. For those of you who don't know, I have lupus. And so it's an autoimmune disease, and sometimes it hits me hard. And you never know what day you're going to wake up and be hurting from head to toe, or you're going to be fine. But, some days I wake up and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a bad day. But then I start taking one step, and I'm like, oh, it's not so bad. I can work through this. I can walk through this. I can keep going. And so that's the thing that makes me keep going, because a lot of people don't understand that. They're like, why don't you just stay in bed all day? And I'm like,
No.
I got things to do. Yeah, it's not an option for me. I've got work. I've got things to do. But taking that one step is the start of every day for me, and it's a start. And that's the reason why I say people who are struggling, they just have to take one step. Take one step, evaluate that. Take the next step, evaluate that. See if you can make it through the day. some days I do sleep till noon too. It's a rarity,
Same. Yeah.
but it's when my body says you've had enough. This is it.
Yeah. I relate to that.
So, question to Ashwani.
Mm.
So earlier you said if I trust their energy.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
So we all work with all kinds of different people, different walks of life and stuff like that.
Yippers.
And sometimes people come in with very low vibrations.
Okay.
So it could be where they're energy vampires, don't even know it. I'm not judging them. It's just I'm assessing the energy. And so for me, sometimes I'll get a little nudge or I see a vision because I see so many things and I'm pushing the cards toward them. I'm like, okay, I trust their energy. Sometimes it's me cutting and I'm like, keep your question in mind. I'm just going to cut them into thirds, which is my normal unless they tell me something different. And then I'll put them back together. But I'd say 85% of the time I'll slide the cards over to the client. I don't shove. Let me rephrase it.
Do a reading.
Let me rephrase. But yeah, I have to be able to trust that energy because those are my tools.
Yeah.
And you can cleanse and clear anything. I don't do it out of fear.
Right.
It's just, this is my, livelihood. This is my tools.
So, Randy, I have a question for you because I was in San Antonio at a fair,
Yes.
and I've been at a couple of fairs, and to where I know that these people that are in front of me are not necessarily of human form.
Okay.
I've had a reptilian that was green.
Wow.
I mean, I could see that she was green, and then when she bent down to sign up, she was normal color, and she looked at me, and she knew I knew. Because then when she got up and she was starting to walk away, because she signed up for a time, and then when she turned back around, she was green, and she knew I could see it, so she walked on. She never came back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I've
so
not had that.
you've never had that? Yeah, it
No.
was so like recently in Oklahoma City, I was like green, and they're like, what? I'm like, that man is green, and they're like, and I don't see it on
Wow.
everyone, so it's really
Yeah.
a weird thing when you're like, because my first instinct was, I wonder if she's got a kidney disease or something, or a liver disease, something that made her
Oh.
color. But then when she bent down and it was normal color, I'm like, this is not interesting. This is not what I think it is. This is
Yeah.
interesting. And then I've had people sit down that I know of not of this planet.
Yeah. They
I'm
live
like-
among us.
Yeah, I'm like, I know that this person's an alien. Do they think I don't know that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a weird thing because it's funny because in everyday life, I don't think I've seen these people or talked to these people necessarily. But when they sit in front of me at my table,
You
it's
know.
like there's a veil removed. And it's like, my guides are like, let me just show you what you got here. So I find that interesting.
But maybe
I
they
love it.
needed a reading too.
do what?
Maybe they needed a reading too.
Oh, they do need a reading. I don't think they're bad. I don't think
No.
they're bad. The reptilian didn't like that I knew who she was.
Right.
Okay.
They're expert cloakers.
And here's the other thing I've been getting. This is weird. I have gotten people where I've handed them my deck to do the prayer, and they hand it back to me, and it feels like it's dripping wet.
Oh, that's crazy.
And
yeah.
so I was asking my guides about it, and they're like, amphibian.
Oh.
And I'm like, interesting. Because at first I wanted to go, yuck, what
Yeah.
do you have all over your hands? but because I'm keeping that poker face, I just was like, oh, okay.
Get your towel out.
It's one of those icky feelings and stuff. And you're like, but it's happened to me like 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, okay. And it's new. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting. And then I got the word amphibian. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Very interesting. I don't normally let people touch my decks, and now I probably will.
But when they do the prayer, I feel like the deck's protected in some way. And that's what's really interesting is the way that my guides, I feel like, and it's funny because when people come to me and they're like, I would have thought this would be really hard to get a reading with all these people around, but somehow you make it feel like we're in a
In
bubble.
a bubble.
Yeah.
Yep.
You do.
And so I feel like whenever I'm let them hold my cards, my guides are like, it's okay. We're protecting them. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I hear that when I do drumming for people. They're like, I really thought I was not going to get anything because it's so loud and there's so many people in here, but the drumming just kind of put us in a bubble or cocoon. And I'm like, awesome, perfect. That's the way it's supposed to
Yeah,
be.
so it's interesting how that works and everything. So, unfortunately, ladies, we have a
Expo.
I was watching Dina give me sign language that was confusing as heck to me. I was like, what is that?
24 minutes, 25 minutes, Leslie.
Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap this baby up. Do you have any closing thoughts, Randie, since you're our guest?
God, why are you go to me first?
Is that the first thought?
That was my thought. No. I guess the parting thoughts would be for people who are thinking about doing tarot, thinking about reading, learning to read oracle cards, do it. Do the thing. Don't let tarot or the thought of learning all of the tarot scare you off. Start with oracle if you're a little nervous, and then work your way up. But like Leslie said in the beginning, reading intuitively is a thing. You can do that without learning all of the structure of tarot, and it really will change your life if you start.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Nickelle?
Nope.
Come
I was
on,
hoping we were
man.
going to go that way. Yeah, no, just, I don't know. I guess for the people that have never had a reading, just go with your gut. There's generally somebody that you're being led to. And if you have a bad feeling, but you really wanted a reading, but this person seems weird, listen to that thought, you know, because maybe you should be going to someone else.
How about you, Ashwani?
I want to piggyback on that because really it is going with your gut. Because when I first started reading cards, it was 1991. I've only been doing this professionally for other people since 2004. So I would have done it a lot sooner, but one, I didn't trust in myself, and two, I really got hung up on the layout with my dyslexia. I just could not, my brain wouldn't process it. So don't let any structure hang you up. Always let your intuition guide you.
I love that. So I was going to say, if you've had readings and you accidentally went to a bad reader, do not let that cloud your judgment.
Yep.
Because there are other readers out there. There are probably 90% great readers, and there's only 10% bad readers. So
Agreed.
really take heart in that and go get a good reading. This is another episode of Mystics Spilling the Tea.
I'm Ashwani of Southern Fried Psychics.
I'm Lezli Hall, the Purple Rose Psychic, purplerosepsychic.com.
I knew it!
I don't know why y'all don't know
All right,
that.
I'm going to throw it in. Ashwani's is southernfriedpsychics.com.
Thanks to Kim.
Yes, I'm Nickelle with Rising Digital, risingdigitalstudio.com.
Randie Lee.
I'm Randie Lee with Dawning Clarity, and that is dawningclarity.com.
And we are
The Mystics Spilling the Tea.